Over the last three games, the Mariners had an offensive explosion and sweep the Angels. Welcome back to another episode of the Seattle Sports Show, where we love Seattle pro sports. I'm your host, Mikey, and today we are here to talk about a Mariners win 5-1 over the Angels. But not just that, we're here to talk about the offensive explosion that happened over the last three games, because I missed being able to record the last two games. So we'll just kind of talk about the offensive explosion in general. We will go over the stats of today's game, June 2nd, before we get into that. But yeah, we'll talk about the offensive explosion. Let's get through today's game first, since it is the most recent thing. Luis Castillo, 7 innings pitched, allowed only 2 hits, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. You gotta love the Rock. He gives you what you need. La Pietro, come on. You know he's gonna get it done. A 2.99 ERA now. And remember, at the beginning of the season, he also started off slow and was getting hit around. So it just shows how much he's gotten back in control since then. Stanek came in for an inning today, and Bauman came in again, looking good. He did give up a run, but hey, you know, he's looked good since he's been here, and we already had a big lead, so I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna be too upset. Batting wise today, Crawford was 0 for 4. Again, he hit that grand slam yesterday, though, so that's all right. Rojas 1 for 3 today. Rodriguez, Julio was 0 for 3. He did get a walk today, just 1 strikeout. Cal Raleigh was 1 for 4. France was 0 for 4. Another guy that has been on a heater lately. Luke Raley was 1 for 2. Garver was 2 for 3 with 3 RBIs today. Canzone was 0 for 2. Bliss was 0 for 4. But hey, we're happy for him getting his first hit yesterday, and then also getting a couple stolen bases, scoring a couple runs. You like what you see out of that young guy there. But yeah, so we ended up winning this game 5-1. In general, though, my goodness, ever since we fired Brand Brown, I mean, we've scored 19 points, 19 runs. I mean, that's just the way baseball is, isn't it? I mean, I bet you every player on this team has to be feeling horrible that, they're the reason why this guy got fired, because they weren't producing. And of course, as soon as the guy gets fired, they start to produce. That's just the way baseball is. It's funny. Again, people can change, from it's just one day to the next. One day you can go 4 for 4, the next day you go 0 for 4. That's just baseball is, it drives you crazy like that. And speaking of going crazy, I was, of course, I'm on social media, and I try to look around what people will say on social media, and in general, when you look on social media, anyways, especially on Twitter, all you'll ever see is people criticizing Scott Service. And I saw this stat that was like, wow. And it just reminds me that baseball is so regional, right? there's 162 games. You only watch your team because that's a lot of games to watch. You're not going to watch every other team and every game of every other team. This isn't, a sport like football where, there's only 17 games in a season. Uh, and the times are staggered throughout the day, so you can easily watch multiple teams in across, Sunday, Monday, Thursday type of deal. No, baseball is every day, 162 games, and the games are longer. So typically you're not watching a lot of other teams as much as you're watching the team you root for, and your hometown team. So sometimes something can be happening in your team where you feel like, wow, we're horrible at this. You see something that is frustrating you, and you say, "Oh man, why are we so bad at this? And why can't we be better? I bet you all the other teams are better than what we're doing." And then you come to find out, hey, we're actually one of the best at something. It just stings that much more because you're watching your team and you're watching them so often. And in baseball, you fail more often than you succeed. And I'm bringing this up because I saw this stat that was like, wow, people like to criticize Scott Service for the way he handles the bullpen, right? When he brings the bullpen in, who he brings in, you name it, people got a problem with the way he manages the game. And people criticizing Scott Service online about how, he's bringing in pitchers when they don't need to be brought in, and he's running their pitch count up, and he's managing it horribly. They're pitching so much that they're getting wasted. And then you come to find out our bullpen has the least amount of pitches than any bullpen in MLB. And it's like not even close. It's like it was like somewhere it was over 150. It was like close to 200. That's like the difference between us and the next closest bullpen and the amount of pitches that they've thrown. Like they've thrown close to like 200 more than us. That's second place. We're first place. Like our bullpen does great. I mean, that's just how good our pitching staff is. The starters, they typically go 6 to 7 innings. Our bullpen, when they do come in, they're efficient. So they're in there and they're throwing, but it's not like they're out there throwing 30, 40 pitches every time they're out there, and wasting them, and then you can't use them for days and days and days, So it's just sometimes it's kind of funny to me when I see the chatter on social media, and sometimes you just kind of have to step back and take a look at the stats throughout the league and kind of go, oh, well, I guess we're not as bad as I thought we were in a certain area, I mean, right now we're in first place in our division, right? And we're in first place by 4 games. So there's only like so much that you can complain about. You always want your team to do better, right? But I think that's what it is. You always want your team to be better, but it's usually not as bad as you think it is when you take a look around. Like for instance, I can't remember who I said. It was one of the podcasts I was listening to that they were talking about how, we're in first place because our division is so bad, and if we were in any other division in baseball, we'd probably be 4th or 5th place. Well, that's not true. At worst, with our record, you look throughout the entire league. If we were in the AL East, yeah, we'd be in third. If we were in the AL Central, we would be in third. Everywhere else, at worst, we would be in second place. It feels like, oh, well, we're only 34 and 27. Well, we are 7 games above 500. And no, we wouldn't be fourth and fifth place, across the rest of the league. We would still be, either, second place or worse, third place, and competing for a wild card spot, like no matter what division we were in. So, it's never really, I guess just what I'm trying to say is the way I watch baseball is it's not as bad as you think, and it's not as good as you think, and everything can change at any moment because that's baseball. Right now, we're riding high on on a 3-game winning streak, right? But we could lose the next 3, but because of the way baseball is, so could our opponents, and we wouldn't lose any ground at all, and nobody would gain any ground on us. But because you are losing, it would feel like the worst thing in the world, even though you were still in first place. Just that's just baseball. It's insane that we watch it for 162 games the way we do and let it affect our emotions on a day-to-day basis like we do. But that's fandom, and you gotta love it, right? Yeah, I just wanted to get a couple of those things out, talk about how awesome it's been watching this offensive explosion, again, and just seeing it from across the entire lineup has been fun. And then just kind of talk about how, like, oh yeah, things aren't always what they seem when you actually look into the numbers. But yeah, here we swept the Angels. Now let's see here. What are we up to here in June? We gotta go. We gotta go to Oakland. Okay, so 3-game series there. It's Oakland. We should beat them again. We should beat them again, right? We get a day off, by the way, and then we go to Oakland. 3-game series. Let's sweep them too. And then we got a bit of a tougher outing, a 3-game series against the Kansas City Royals. So we will see how that one goes. We did win the last series last month that we went up against the Royals. So hopefully we can do it again. For me, I hope we sweep the Athletics and we get 2. For me, it would be great if we got 2 out of 3 from the Royals and we go on a road trip where we end up coming out of there 5-1. If we end up coming out of this road trip 4-2, you're got to be happy about that too. But I'm going to predict we go 5-1. We take it to the Athletics, sweep them, get at least 2 out of 3 from the Royals. 5-1 on this road trip. What's your prediction for our record on this 6-game road trip? All right, let me know in the comments. And thanks for listening to the show here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave those comments. Podcast listeners, same thing. Hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, leave a 5-star rating and a written review on Apple Podcasts because it really helps the show grow. And thanks for listening to the Seattle Sports Show where we watch legends awaken. So take cover because with the Sea of Sound, you will see us rise to reign supreme and win forever.